your burden of proof. You cannot provide evidence that what you're saying is true, and you flatly admitted it. Oh, I know your atheist argument. We can't have circular reasoning. The Bible can't be proof of itself, but the Bible has to be proof of itself. Congratulations, you lose. You fail at Logic 101. You're done.
Well, besides which, if the Bible were the evidence of a God, you would think that more people would get the same answer. But, you know, in your argument, you pointed out that the Jews, the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Catholics, other, you know, faiths have a different concept of this same God.
Yeah.
And so if your God existed, he would be such a phenomenally poor communicator that in what sense could we ever claim that he's omnipotent? He's not even capable of clearly communicating a message in a way that everyone couldn't mistake the message, because you've got radically different views of what he's trying to tell people.
Oh, but God's perfect. It's just humans who got it wrong.
Yeah, I know. We're just misinterpreting it.
Yeah.
But the other thing, I mean, the best evidence against the Bible being evidence of your God or what he wants from us is probably coming from theologians themselves. I mean, Bart Ehrman makes this point when he talks about going from being a fundamentalist Christian to Princeton to get a PhD and discovering higher criticism for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was an eye-opening experience for him. And so if we're relying on any kind of let's see, you called it atheist doctrine. I don't think it's atheist doctrine. It's just this whole concept of higher criticism that we're looking at.
Evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you want to say that reason and evidence is the atheist doctrine,
Yeah.
guilty. I'll preach it all day, brother.
Yeah.
Reason and evidence all day long. See, because when I was a believer, I actually had the desire to fulfill my obligation. And since you're so interested in looking up, you know, passages and words, go to 1 Peter 3:15 and dig into it in the original text, and you'll find out that what it's actually talking is that you're to be ready at all times to prevent the reason for the faith that's within you. And the word used there is actually logos, which in that reference isn't just referring back to Jesus, as some apologists might like to say, but it's actually talking about give a logical, non-flat assertion, testimonial, anecdotal evidence for it. Because if, in fact, all you can offer to support the reason why you believe is that because the Bible proves the Bible, you've lost. I mean, it's that simple. But anyway, we got others, and we're running about 14 minutes or so left in the show. We got Bill from Ontario.
Yeah, hi, Matt?
Sure. I apologize for the echo. Get your statement out, and I'll put you on hold.
Yeah, so I've noticed that believers, what they tend to do is when I say, well, I'm not sure, or I don't know the answer to that, they're like, aha, so you're wrong then. And then instantly they assume, because I don't know for 100% certainty, they think that they must be right, and they trump me as
Yeah, Ray Comfort does that religiously.
Yeah.
That is Ray Comfort's religion, I'm convinced. In addition to Christianity, he holds this religion of, look, you don't know. And by the way, when you do assert that you know something, and you're talking about it in the sense that we have gained some scientific knowledge, and when you're really just saying we have a good understanding of this, he'll try to get you to admit that you don't know. The whole atheist test thing is, you know, well, if you're not certain there's no God, you're really an agnostic, you're not an atheist.
Yeah.
No, jackass.
Makes
I'm
the
an
same
atheist.
mistake this guy did.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Yeah, right.
I just called him in. Oh, that's okay. It's Ray.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's an echo there. Do you have anything else, Bill?
Yeah, well, one thing is recently I talked to my grandfather on my mother's side, and he's very, very religious, you know, set in his beliefs. And recently he kind of figured out that I'm atheist. And, you know, he brought up the whole thing of, well, you can't prove it, and, like, maybe you need to do your research. Yep. And, you know, since I became an atheist, I think I've done more research than back when I was a Christian.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, I hear that from, it was me doing research that led to me becoming an atheist. It's what the same thing with Jen, and Tracy, and Jeff, and you know, of all these outspoken, supposedly dogmatic theists that come, or atheists that come from theistic backgrounds, it's all the result of actually doing research.
Yeah.
It's of actually analyzing the arguments for and the criticisms of the religion that you came from, and then branching out to do the same thing for other religious claims, and then looking at the bigger picture on the whole. What reason do we have to posit the existence of some supernatural being in the first place? How do we even possibly analyze this? And
Well, you really can't.
yeah. So what you're saying is that all these people who are convinced, they are convinced of something for which they cannot possibly have any evidence.
Right. Yeah, and, okay, so I'll let you guys get on to the next caller. I just wanted to say, though, that I really look up to you guys, and you guys do a great job of what you're doing.
Thanks a lot,
Well, thank
Bill. I
you.
appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, we got, let me get the right line here because I don't think that one's on. Doug in Houston.
Yes, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Hey, what's going on? I'm a big fan.
Thanks.
Great, thanks.
It's an honor to be on. I've been listening for about 3 years. I'm an ex-Christian, and as you, Matt, I was probably going to end up being a minister, which leads me to the question. As the Christians, like, calling us out, saying that we're the fools, I had an epiphany on that. Are we the fools? If there are professionals in theism that could capitalize and make money, it would be us.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that? I mean, that's
Sure.
a question, moral, but
Do you have any idea how rich I could be right now if I was
Exactly.
unethical?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the guy who's been hosting an atheist TV show for the last 5 years. All I have to do is claim that Jesus came and spoke to me one night, and the next thing you know, every Christian organization is going to be, I'm going to have book tours and preaching at churches
Yep.
and talking about the atheist delusion and how I hung with the new atheist, the heart. I could turn this, I could be, woo. Unfortunately, I'm way too ethical for that, and I actually give a damn about truth.
yeah.
And so I will continue to be poor, and if that makes me foolish, so be it.
Of course, there are other aspects of Christian doctrine that you'd have issues with, but
Yeah.
you know.
Somebody asked me the other day if I would go preach in a church if they gave me $1 million, and I was like, as long as I can preach whatever I want, sure.
Yeah.
You bet. I'd do it for 50.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd probably give you 50. Give me your congregation for a Sunday morning. Let me preach the way I want to. I'll give you $50.
Yeah. Let us teach your kids the Bible stories.
There's a limit. Not everybody can get that because I don't have the $50 to give to 1,000 churches. But the second part of your question that's on here is about, is it possible that there's church leaders that are secretly atheists? It's
Yeah.
not only possible, it's
yeah.
a certainty. Dan Dennett has been doing a study on some that are stuck in the ministry. Now, I think you were probably talking more about people who are being intentionally dishonest in order to make a buck.
Yeah.
I think they exist too. I can't name them by name for fear that they would sue me, and they have much more expensive lawyers than I do. But I think that there are people particularly on television, who are knowingly fraudulent in their portrayal of their religious beliefs, and they're doing it in order to make a buck. And I think that they're in a different category from the preachers who are stuck being preachers who happen to no longer believe. We know for certain that they're out there not just because of Dan Dennett, because after we did a show about this, the very next day, a preacher who watches the program religiously contacted us to say, I am one of those preachers who is stuck preaching. And we've carried on some conversations with him and hope to have him call into the show sometime.
Well, I had one other question. I'll hang up.
Sure.
I was always curious about because I'm a newbie at this, being the atheist and all, and I do a lot of research, as the last caller stated. And I recently did a lot of reading and listening to Madeline O'Hare.
Yeah.
Madeline O'Hare.
Yeah.
And being that she was out of Austin, I was curious to is some of her movement led to the Atheist Experience, or
Sure.
how much attributed to her is her? Because I think she was a great speaker and a great philosopher, thinker, which I was raised to believe she was totally demonized by my family. But
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang up, Doug, so you don't get the
Thank
echo,
you.
but I'll answer it. Thanks. I'm right there with you. I remember when I was a kid, I saw Madeline Murray O'Hare on Phil Donahue's show. Had no idea what was going on, but my mom changed the channel really quick, and there were a couple of quick discussions about how she was an evil atheist woman trying to destroy God's country, etc. And I didn't know much more about that, and I really didn't think I needed to. I mean, Mom had told me, so it was good enough. Yeah, American Atheists, the organization that she founded, was originally here in Austin. Madeline did have a public access TV show. Some of the people in the ACA actually worked with her on that show. The organization moved to New Jersey. The ACA was formed not with any ties to American Atheists or Madeline's group. It was a newspaper article that was sent out, and people started meeting in a coffee shop. This was after the Austin-based American Atheists had moved. This is about 13 years ago that the ACA started.
In fact, it was after Madeline's death.
Yes.
So.
And the new this organization, the Atheist Community of Austin, was formed, and they, obviously American Atheists continued to exist, and they're based out of New Jersey now. It's completely separate, but there are members of the ACA who were around and active when Madeline was running American Atheists here. I never got a chance to meet her. She was dead long before I was even an atheist. I've seen the footage that I wasn't allowed to watch previously, and I've read some things that she wrote, and I think I love her, and I think she and I would have had a lot of fun, but unfortunately, she's dead, and we would have disagreed on quite a few things though too, but that happens all the time. It's one of the beautiful things. I mean, there's a handful of people here in the studio today. Most of them are ACA members or new members or stuff like that. Well, the number of disagreements that happen between ACA members on all kinds of subjects is impressive. And one of the nice things is that most of these people I count among my best friends, and we can have incredibly heated, sometimes even hostile arguments between ourselves, and okay, next. Because we're not attacking each other. And even if I say, oh, that's stupid, or you're stupid, or whatever else, you give as good as you get. And it's this understanding that, just because I don't agree with you on this thing doesn't mean I think you're a piece of crap and you're useless and you're no part of my world and you shouldn't be in my presence. You are beneath me. And that's not the way that discussions like this go with theists. And one shining example of this. I don't want to go down this trail because we don't have enough time. There's only like a minute and a half left before we got to sign off. I will get to this last call, though, so Mosh, stay on. I posted something about skepticism and atheism the other day on the blog. And I divided the skeptics up into 3 different categories in order to address this issue, which I won't go into great detail on. The blog post is there. You can read it, atheistexperience.blogspot.com. And I divided it into 3 categories of skeptics. Category number 1 is the least trouble skeptic, and that's the person who believes that skepticism supports their theistic position. Category number 2 I call the Pamela Gay skeptic, and that is somebody who is a skeptic and is a theist and thinks that skepticism has nothing to say about their theistic beliefs because they're untestable. And then skeptic category number 3 was the Martin Gardner skeptic, and this is skeptical theists. Someone who's a skeptic who believes in God but acknowledges that they're not using skepticism when it comes to their God belief, not because it doesn't apply, but because they don't want to, because there's some emotional argument for it. That's all I wrote. Somebody posted a reply that said, how could you launch such a vicious attack against Martin Gardner? Now, I didn't. I stated the man's position. There was no attack, vicious or otherwise. But this other person who is a skeptic and is an atheist, who looks up to and admires Martin Gardner, and now we're not going to get to that call, I apologize. I'll take it after the show's over, felt a personal affront because I had exposed a flaw in an idol. And this forced them to acknowledge that on this subject, they weren't being very skeptical. They were revering someone and putting them above criticism. And acknowledging your own failure to be skeptical is very uncomfortable. That's getting to the core of who you are. And so it felt like an attack when I had not even said anything remotely unkind. I had simply put labels on the different positions. That's what happens in the conversations with theists, etc. The credits are up. We are completely out of time. I apologize. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll continue to work on the audio problems. There will be a show next week and the week after, but then no show on the 22nd.